Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well informed, where we cut through the noise and zero in on the insights that truly matter. And today, we're diving deep into an icon, Elvis Presley. We all know the image, the swagger, the jumpsuits, the unforgettable voice, but there's a profound, almost heartbreaking paradox at the very heart of his legend, especially when we talk about his time in Las Vegas. Before we go any further, though, a quick but really important note. This deep dive discusses sensitive topics, including prescription drug use, addiction, and the mental and physical health decline related to Elvis Presley's life. While we'll explore these aspects with care and respect, some details might be distressing for some listeners. So if you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, help is available. In the U.S., you can contact the SAMHSA National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP 4357. That's 1-800-662-4357. It's free, confidential, and available 24/7. Okay, so back to our mission today. We're zeroing in on Elvis in Las Vegas, specifically his monumental return in July 1969 at the brand new International Hotel. This wasn't just another show. It was a moment that really, for the second time in his life, reshaped popular music and cemented his status as the king.
It really is striking when you think about it. This huge triumphant comeback, which absolutely solidified Elvis as the showman and the king, ultimately became what our core source material, Elvis in Vegas, the King's Golden Cage calls it, a cage, a place that kind of slowly and agonizingly led to his undoing.
Right. So with that powerful context set, our goal today is to unpack the dazzling glitter, but also the relentless grind and the immense irreversible price Elvis paid for his reign in Las Vegas. We're pulling insights directly from Elvis in Vegas, the King's Golden Cage, to really try and grasp this profound duality that shaped his final years. So let's maybe take a step back first. By the early 1960s, Elvis had pretty much vanished from the live stage, right?
Yeah, almost entirely.
After a single charity concert in 1961, he disappeared for nearly a decade. He was stuck out in Hollywood, turning out what were, let's be honest, kind of formulaic films with pretty forgettable soundtracks. What was really at stake for him during that period sounds bleak.
Well, for Elvis, who's just a performer at his core, those years were like a creative prison. I mean, he hated the scripts, felt his talent was just being wasted, and he saw his fan interest, which had been, white hot, waning. Critics were openly saying he was done over.
Ouch.
Yeah. So when his 1968 comeback special hit the airwaves, it wasn't just a comeback. It felt like a resurrection. Clad in that black leather, surrounded by a live audience, Elvis just exploded back into the spotlight. You could feel his palpable desire for more, this real hunger to get back to doing what he did best.
And he found that chance, didn't he? In 1969, the brand new International Hotel in Vegas booked him, a 4-week engagement in their massive 2,000-seat showroom. The anticipation must have been absolutely electric. Peter Garalnik captured it, saying something like, it was like opening night on Broadway. Everyone was watching, waiting to see if he'd succeed or fail.
And he absolutely did not fail. I mean, he brought the house down completely. The reviews were glowing. Audiences were just rabid. He proved himself all over again, solidified his status as this peerless live performer. But, and this is the critical point here, even in that moment of just undeniable triumph, the threads of confinement were already starting to weave themselves in. This glorious success, as huge as it was, immediately came with strings attached. Kind of insidious attachments, really.
And this is where the real complexity starts to set in, isn't it? After that initial explosive run, Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager, he didn't waste any time. He leveraged that success, locked Elvis into a long-term contract with the International, which soon became the Hilton. This deal guaranteed big money, which Parker obviously loved, but for Elvis, it came with even bigger, maybe unforeseen demands.
Oh, absolutely. And those demands took the form of an absolutely grueling schedule. I mean, just punishing. He was contracted for 2 shows a night, 7 nights a week, for 4 to 6 weeks at a time, twice a year. And during peak years like 1970 and 1972, it got even worse.
Right.
3 shows in one night, a dinner show, a midnight show, and then a 2 a.m. breakfast show for the VIPs and high rollers.
3 shows in one night.
Yeah. And to really grasp the scale, just think about this. Between 1969 and 1976, Elvis performed a staggering 636 shows just in Las Vegas. It wasn't a gig, it was like an industrial operation.
Right. So from Colonel Parker's perspective, this setup was, well, he thought it was perfect, didn't he?
Exactly.
No touring expenses, just steady cash flowing in from the hotel. And maybe most importantly for Parker, absolute, unwavering control over Elvis. But for Elvis himself, the source material, The King's Golden Cage, it reveals this heartbreaking truth that the dream was starting to feel like a sentence. It's hard to square that, isn't it? The king of rock and roll, seemingly at the top of his game, feeling so utterly trapped.
Well, at first, he poured everything into those performances, every ounce of his being. The shows were tight, his voice was strong, the crowds were electric. He really gave his all, night after night. But as the book notes so poignantly, that magic didn't last. The sheer repetition, the lack of new creator outlets, it began to erode something essential inside him.
It's almost unimaginable for a performer like him, but the decline actually became tangible. The set lists barely changed, the stage banter became routine, and Elvis began to, well, the book says sleepwalk through shows. There were still flashes of brilliance, sure, but increasingly he was just disconnected, sort of, disembodied.
Yeah, Peter Guralnick, who observed him so closely, noted he began to feel like a trained monkey. The same faces, the same lights, the same songs.
God, a trained monkey.
He was losing that spontaneity, the very joy that fueled his early career. He was being ground out of him. And what becomes really clear here is how visible this internal shift became. You could see it if you're watching closely. He'd start, like, mocking his own material on stage, telling sarcastic jokes, even forgetting lyrics sometimes.
Really, forgetting lyrics.
Oh, yeah. He was phoning into performances, and yet the audience, they still cheered, they still screamed. It's this stark, almost disturbing image,
Right.
behind that glittering jumpsuit, behind the roar of the applause. Something profound was just slipping away. The performance was there, but the performer, he was fading.
So, given this grueling, repetitive schedule and the obvious mental toll, what were the immediate physical and mental signs of this pressure on Elvis? By the early 1970s, our source tells us Elvis was performing through a haze of pills, pain, and pressure. He was using uppers to stay awake, barbiturates to sleep, opiates for pain, basically everything in between just to function.
His whole life rhythm was reversed. His biological clock was completely shot. He'd go to bed around sunrise, wake up late afternoon, and immediately start this cocktail of medication just to get through the night's demands. Peter Guralnick described the transformation. Elvis's weight fluctuated wildly, his speech sometimes became slurred, and that once razor-sharp focus just vanished.
God.
The man on stage was literally being held together by chemicals. It's grim.
And this all led to a truly dramatic and frankly harrowing incident, didn't it? One night, Elvis was found unconscious in his Hilton suite. Just completely over-medicated, unresponsive.
Yeah. According to Jerry Schilling and Sonny West, guys who were right there in his inner circle, he had to be physically dragged into an ice bath just to revive him.
An ice bath.
An ice bath.
Right.
There was apparently no time for doctors because the absolute overriding goal was simple: get him on stage.
Unbelievable.
And he did perform that night. Reportedly dazed, robotic, but he was there. But what's really shocking and profoundly revealing about the whole situation is Colonel Parker's response when he was told what happened.
What did he say?
His reaction was basically, no matter what, get that man on stage.
Wow.
It wasn't just a directive. It became the unwritten law of the whole operation. The show and the money it brought in was paramount. Above Elvis's health, even above his life.
And that law, that ruthless demand for performance, no matter the cost, it had brutal consequences for anyone who tried to intervene.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you tried to genuinely help Elvis, if you pushed back, or even just raise concerns about his well-being, you were fired. Simple as that.
So people who cared were pushed out.
Yes. People like Red West, Sonny West, Jerry Schillingman, who'd been with him for years, practically family, they experienced this firsthand. It just built this wall of silence around him. Isolation.
That's heartbreaking.
Larry Geller, who was Elvis's hairdresser, but also a kind of spiritual confidant, perhaps tried the hardest. He introduced Elvis to things like detox diets, meditation, metaphysics, desperately trying to help him find some inner peace, some physical healing. Geller wrote with such clarity, I watched him dying in slow motion, not from fame, not from the fans, but from the loneliness and the silence surrounding him.
Wow.
But even Geller, who was clearly a source of genuine concern, was systematically pushed aside. It became painfully clear. The machine didn't want healing. It wanted compliance. It needed him on that stage, night after night.
What's truly poignant, though, is that in 1973, for just a brief moment, Elvis actually fought back. He finally tried to fire Colonel Parker. He tried to break free.
We did. But Parker's response was, well, incredibly cunning. He calmly walked away, apparently said, okay, only to return the very next morning with a handwritten bill.
A bill? For what?
For $2 million, charging Elvis for past services rendered.
That's $2 million. In 1973, money.
Exactly. Elvis was shocked. Cornered by this massive sudden debt, he backed down. The attempt to escape had failed, and you just imagine the cage slamming shut right then. The despair of realizing your efforts to break free only tightened the chains.
God, that's devastating.
Elvis himself later summed it up with this profound weariness, just saying, "I'm so tired of being Elvis Presley."
I can only imagine. Yet despite all of this, even as the walls were closing in 1973, Elvis managed to pull off one final, almost unbelievable miracle. Aloha from Hawaii. This was the first concert ever beamed live via satellite around the world,
Yeah.
reaching over 1 billion people apparently. An unprecedented global spectacle, a last blaze of glory.
Yeah, and if you just look at the immediate impact, on the surface, he looked incredible. He had that iconic American Eagle jumpsuit on. He appeared focused. His voice sounded strong. It was, by all accounts, a definitive career peak, a moment of real global triumph. But
that.
it's critical to understand that it was still fundamentally a Vegas show, just with a global spotlight. Same structure, same band, same format he was already so weary of.
Oh, okay.
And the difficult truth is, after that night, Elvis would never again really be that sharp, that focused. By 1974, his health was deteriorating rapidly. By 1976, you hear reports of incoherent shows. And then, in 1977, just 4 years after that monumental Aloha broadcast, the king was gone.
So as we reflect on this incredible but also deeply tragic chapter, what does this all mean for his enduring legacy? On one hand, Las Vegas undeniably gave Elvis this huge second act, right? An incredible resurgence that reestablished him as a global force. It gave us the iconic jumpsuits, the swagger, the spectacle, and yeah, that legendary Aloha from Hawaii moment.
Absolutely. But the profound cost, the dark side of that success, you just can't overstate it.
Yeah.
It also gave us those 636 grueling shows, the endless cycles of overmedication, the onstage collapses, the ice baths in hotel suites, and this horrifying image of a man being literally pushed onto a stage when he absolutely should have been in a hospital bed. David Ritz put it so powerfully. Vegas gave him applause, but not peace.
That says it all, really.
And still, despite everything, despite the incredible physical and emotional toll, he gave the crowd everything he had left, even when, he had almost nothing left to give.
I think it's really crucial to challenge that common, often kind of dismissive view here. Elvis didn't just suddenly die in the bathroom at Graceland. The source material suggests a much more complex, drawn-out tragedy. He died, in a very real sense, in Vegas, night after night, under those glaring lights, giving more of himself than any human being should ever have to.
Exactly. The glittering jumpsuit hid the bruises. The ever-present sunglasses hid the pain. The thunderous applause masked this profound, suffocating loneliness. The contrast between that vibrant public image and the increasingly isolated, suffering private reality is truly haunting when you look closer.
And you still hear the jokes sometimes, the references to Fat Elvis, the whispers when he forgot lyrics or seemed out of it. He got caricatured, reduced to a punchline by some. But he wasn't a joke. He was a man. Still climbing onto that stage, still trying desperately to be everything to everyone because maybe he had, in a devastating way, lost sight of who he was without the music, without the roar of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
He even said it himself, something like, I don't know who I am unless I'm on that stage.
Right. So the fundamental truth, when you peel it all back, is that the spotlight wasn't saving him. It was consuming him. And when he finally fell, just utterly exhausted and alone.
Well, no one who truly understood his Vegas reality should have been surprised. It felt like the tragic, almost inevitable conclusion of a life pushed way beyond human limits.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Elvis in Vegas, the fire, the fallout, and the man behind the myth. It's a story that really reminds us of the immense pressure that can come with that kind of extraordinary fame. And Elvis's own lyrics, we're caught in a trap, I can't walk out. They just underscore that profound struggle he faced so powerfully. But maybe, just maybe, for a fleeting moment up on that stage, he truly believed he could walk out, that he could somehow transcend it all. Long live the king.
Yeah, long live the king. So if this story moved you, if it offered you maybe a new perspective on a legend, please share this deep dive. Let's try to remember the truth behind the rhinestones and the rumors. Because behind all that spectacle, there was a man who gave absolutely everything he had. Share this deep dive with others who might appreciate this insight. Subscribe and follow the deep dive for more explorations into the stories behind the headlines.